There have been at least 3 terror convictions and court hearings going on in London over the last month or so, and they all have a common theme. They're going after the politicians. So there have been a few interesting cases recently regarding terror plots that have been foiled in London. I thought I'd go over 3 of them today, all surrounding London, I might add. And the first one being from the middle of June. ISIS seems to have gone all feminist with its first ever all-female ISIS cell in London. And a young member of the ISIS Spice Girls has been jailed for life for planning a knife attack in central London. The Independent reports, Rislaine Boular, a 22-year-old mother, was handed a minimum term of 16 years at the Old Bailey for plotting to cause panic, injury and death in April last year. Her mother, Mina Dick, 44, was jailed for 6 years and 9 months with a further 5 years on extended license for helping her. Typically, keeping it in the family, both women appeared in Muslim dress to be sentenced by Judge Mark Dennis QC. He said Dick failed in her parental role to stop her daughter committing an atrocity that would have taken place 1 month after the Westminster attack. It's amazing that, isn't it? She failed in her parental role to stop her children from going out stabbing people. My parents' parental role was cooking my dinner and telling me off if I forgot to brush my teeth in the mornings. It's amazing now that kids are expected to be these vulnerable little minds that might go out stabbing people if you don't tell them not to. It's insanity. But the story here is that these 2 women took over a terror plot that was originally being planned by Rislaine's sister, who was a young girl who was stopped from going to ISIS, going to Syria to fight with ISIS at the age of 16. This was. Her sister met an ISIS fighter online, but then he was blown up in Raqqa, and then this enraged the girls even more, but her younger sister was taken into custody in April 2017 when she tried to get into Syria. So the plan for the 2 remaining women was to either target the British Museum or the Houses of Parliament. This is a classic Al-Qaeda tactic, and we know that because they published an article in May 2016 in Al-Qaeda's Inspire magazine called "Oh Knife Revolution, Head Toward America." Do me a favour, don't Google that. Theresa May's snooper squad will be all over your internet history, so don't do it. The second story here is, the BBC reports on this, is that a British plumber, you've probably seen this all over social media over the last day or so, a British plumber has been convicted of planning another terror attack in Westminster and making bombs for the Taliban. So the BBC report, Khalid Ali, 28, was arrested on 27th of April 2017 in Parliament Street, where he was caught carrying 3 knives. Prosecutors said Ali from Edmonton in North London had planned a murderous attack on politicians and police. In a police interview, Ali said he wanted to deliver a message to British authorities, but claimed the knives were for protection. An Old Bailey jury convicted him of preparing an act of terrorism in the UK and 2 counts of possessing an explosive substance with intent. He did not react as the verdicts were read out. And all this, combined with the recent story that one terrorist, or at least attempted terrorist, tried to bomb Downing Street and behead Theresa May. Wouldn't you think the politicians would have noticed a theme by now? Naima Rahman tried to bomb Downing Street and kill Theresa May. Khalid Ali was plotting a murderous attack on British politicians and police, and Rislaine Boular was planning a knife attack at Westminster. Wouldn't you think the politicians would have noticed the theme? You know, I've long thought that if politicians were suddenly the focus of terror attacks, instead of just the common man on the street, that maybe they would wake up. But even that isn't doing the job. London's descending into violent chaos, and politicians are being directly threatened with Islamic terrorists, with plot after plot being foiled, and you would think the politicians would notice, and yet Theresa May and the main party politicians refuse to accept that there's even a problem. London is descending into violent chaos. Terrorist plot after terrorist plot is being foiled, and yet the politicians still don't seem to think there's a problem, or at least they don't want to recognise the source of the problem. And if these attacks, if these foiled attacks still don't scare the politicians, it leaves me wondering, what happens the day when one of these terrorists actually slips through the net, when the British authority figures and the British security services, who are doing an amazing job right now, don't catch the next terrorist. And say this terrorist got into Westminster, they blew something up and they killed a few politicians. Say that happens. Would the politicians then, would they still be telling us to join hands and sing "Don't Look Back" in anger? If you want to see more from me and the rest of the Rebel team, remember to like and subscribe.